Priming can be done on the conscious or subconscious level. It means planting a seed, planting a belief, planting a word or a picture in our mind consciously or subconsciously, and how that actually influences our behavior. So Barge, that time of NYU, did the research where he primed people with words associated with old. Words, if you remember, such as wrinkles, words such as old, words such as Florida. And as a result of this priming, those participants in the study actually walked slower, were actually more stooped when evaluated by researchers who were not aware of their condition, meaning they didn't know whether they were primed with control words, just random words, or with words associated with old. So it was just through the priming that people actually started to behave differently. The power of the situation, the power of the environment. And then Barge took it a step further and said, okay, let's prime them with positive primes, such as achievement, such as persistence, such as success. These words, for example, they had to find a synonym for the word achievement. Those who were primed with these words on intelligence tests and on memory tests actually performed better than the control group who wasn't primed with these words. Two Dutch researchers, Dijkhuis and Knippenberg, what they found was that they brought people in and they asked them to describe, for a future experiment, not for that experiment, for a future experiment, asked them to describe the typical day or typical characteristics of three archetypes: a soccer hooligan, a secretary, and a professor. Describe these three archetypes. And they told them that this is for the next experiment where we just want people to evaluate these archetypes, not knowing that actually by describing these archetypes, these individuals were primed. They were primed for a soccer hooligan, for a secretary, or for a professor. And then they had to do intelligence tests afterwards, memory tests after those primes. Those who had to describe the day of a soccer hooligan performed the worst in terms of memory, in terms of intelligence. Then there was the secretary, and those who performed the best were those who described the professor. Now, they didn't study any harder before. Nothing changed except for the fact that there was a prime, there was something planted from the environment in their minds. The question then is, how can we create a positive environment for ourselves where we are primed by the positive, where we can be happier, more successful, and so on? And there are many ways in which we can do it. Let me share a few. And in fact, this is going to be your assignment for this week, or one of the assignments, to create a positive environment. So here are some of the examples. Have pictures of people you love or places you love. The important thing about these things is that even if you don't see them, you see them. So on the subconscious level, it's still there. Even though on the subconscious level, when people are primed, they don't really see the word, say, achievement on the screen when it's there for 25 milliseconds. They don't really see it, but it registers. So even if a picture is there and you don't, quote-unquote, really see it or are not really conscious of it, mindful of it, it still has an impact on you. So have pictures of people you love. Have pleasant objects, whether it's memorabilia, whether it's flowers, whether it's art, your favorite art. So I have in my house and my office my favorite art on the wall by my favorite artists. And let me share with you a few. I actually brought them here. These are very valuable. I insured them, so it's not a problem. So this is this specific artist from the first phase of his career. As you can see, very powerful strokes, very intense, very deliberate, and just gorgeous. And here is by the same artist from the second phase of his career. Here you already begin to see impressionist influence on his work. But still, you know, you see the same trend, the same power, the same intensity. So I have these on my wall. There's a new and upcoming artist whom I want to introduce you to. She still doesn't have a second phase, you know, she's only 1 year old. But, you know, this is work done with the help of her mom. But again, these are on my wall and they remind me every day. And even if I've seen them hundreds of times, it's still there. You know, I think about my kids. And then I also have other, you know, lesser known artists work on my wall. Again, this is, probably you've not heard of this one. This is Rodin, the thinker. And so I have this on my wall. It's my favorite sculpture. And then I have another piece by Rodin, just to remind me that it's not all about thinking, that there are other things that make life worth living. So this is Rodin's The Kiss, for those of you who know it. And again, have these things on your wall, create an environment where you feel warm, where it's fun for you to be there. Quotes. You know I love quotes. And I know that many of you love quotes. Some of you have sent me your favorite quotes. I have on my wall a list of quotes. And they're there, and even if I don't see them, I see them. So for example, let's see if I brought some here. Yeah, here they are. So one is by John Quincy Adams. Patience and perseverance have a magical effect before which difficulties disappear and obstacles vanish. So priming the issue of persistence, by the way, which is one thing that Barge did. He primed that and people actually became more persistent. George Eliot, or also known as Marianne Evans, my favorite author, she wrote, "The important work of moving the world forward does not wait to be done by perfect men." I'll talk about perfectionism, which is a very important, very personal theme for me in about 3 weeks. So she's very much a role model. Camus, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that there was within me an invincible summer." You know, a quote that has helped me through hard times. Henry David Thoreau, "If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours." Again, I have these quotes up on my wall, a few others, and many of the quotes that you see in the course, and they prime me, they remind me, they create the environment for me. We'll talk about art in the next section, its importance. Have your favorite books next to you. Listen to music, but listen to it mindfully. Not just as background music, but music that inspires you, whether it's Rocky, whether it's Eminem, whoever it is. Watch films that inspire you. All these things help you to create an environment that is conducive to growth, to success, to well-being. A lot of it is done on the subconscious level, which is the power of the priming studies. And finally, this is what positive research is about. If we constantly focus on quote-unquote negative research, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, we're primed by this research, we're primed by this work, and it creates reality. You know, this indirectly and tangentially relates to, some of you may know, the Eisenberg principle. Is that when you measure a phenomenon, you're changing the phenomenon. When you measure a phenomenon, you're also changing yourself. So by researching the positive, we're also priming ourselves with the positive. Now, a lot of this work that I'm talking about today and that I'll talk about next time actually comes from the self-help movement. In many ways, the self-help movement was started, at least in the 20th century, was started with the understanding that we create the world through our thinking, that our mind creates the world. And books like these came out back in the 1930s. Think and Grow Rich. This book, since 1930, sold over 60 million copies. It's still selling. It's a bestseller in the US, it's a bestseller in China and India, It's the bestseller in Africa. It's the bestseller in Europe. Has an impact on people. And here is one of the things that Napoleon Hill says. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Very empowering. And this had an impact on many different people, on the masses. Again, 60 million copies, one of the best sellers in history. Henry Ford had a similar idea. Whether you think you can or can't, you are right. And people were drawn to this message. Why? Because it's empowering, because it makes them feel that things are possible. Another very influential book, The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale. Have great hopes and dare to go out for them. Have great dreams and dare to live them. Have tremendous expectations and believe in them. How inspiring for people to hear that. All you need to do is think. All you need to do is believe. And affluence will come to you. Whether it's interpersonal affluence, whether it's monetary affluence. And this has been a message that has drawn the masses and continues to do so today. The best-selling book today, #1 bestseller all over the world. That's right, The Secret. The secret to success is what they call the law of attraction. The law of attraction is that you attract to your life whatever you imagine, whatever you believe in. Again, a powerful message. Millions and millions of copies of this book being sold. As we speak, continue to be sold. And the message is again simple. Believe and you will achieve. Conceive and it will be conceived. In reality, in the world, it will come to you. Very convincing, very inspiring message, but